It's the live stream. Hi, this is the pre-show. This isn't the real show. This is just checking that I've unmuted, that you can see us, that you can hear us. And if you're catching it after it's live, go in the description and then click the blue number at where it says it starts here, and that will take you to the thingy. So don't go in the comments going, oh my God, why are they talking about your cat that's been stolen? Or why is Spanners talking about why he spent a lot of the day in bed and has been struggling a lot. And I know a lot of my stories recently have been around that. That is because it is Christmas time. It is December. Everyone is happy. There's lots of parties going on. Normal service and misery will be resumed in January. Hello. Uncle Steve says, we've got vision and audio. So a big thank you to Uncle Steve, who is really a critical member of making sure the video side of Missed Apex podcast actually happens. So go and say hello to him in the Patreon live chat. We've got Tom Jenkinson here. Tom, who crashed out me in the NASCAR race on our iRacing, and crashed out Matt in the feature race, and actually took out me and Matt in one maneuver. How can you show your face in here, Tom? How can you? Oh, we've got Sean. Sean's here. Sean disagrees with me about everything. I still stand my argument that Lando overtook off track. Yeah, I've seen Hamilton do the same and cop a penalty. I think my views on this have actually evolved a little bit since the race. Unless it doesn't suit my narrative at any point, in which case, don't worry, I'll double down. I will falsify facts to suit my narrative. But we've got a 4-person panel on here. So I guarantee you someone will agree with me, even if it's just for the sake of it. Obviously, Matt Trumpets would never disagree with me for the sake of it, would you, Matt?
Oh, no, I would never, ever make an argument of convenience just to make things interesting. No, the point, it's competitive arguing. You have to argue the other side like you want to win. Otherwise, you don't find the truth.
I don't ever go, right, Matt thinks this thing, so I'm going to say the opposite. I don't do that. But if I think you're even a bit wrong and you're like off on one, and I'm a bit on the other side, I will double down on the other side and go like full strength on the other side.
Yeah, I know that is a classic, just to say, oh, I disagree with the tiniest technical bit, but then to couch it in the most hyperbolic terms you can.
Hyperbole.
Stretch it all the way to the other side.
No, I do like that. And it's sort of, you get good at kind of debating. And then when you do that, you do find that then you are suddenly on a team online or amongst the listeners. And so you look in the comments or the feedback or the Patreon Discord, and you've created a war out of nothing. When you create a war out of nothing, like a thing that didn't even get mentioned on the broadcast, that's a big win. Yeah, no, you don't want to start wars inside your own chat, but sometimes do you know what
happens.
I keep getting accused of on Twitter?
What?
Is rage baiting. It's like everyone's learned a new word along with glazing and rage baiting. So people go, oh, why'd you post rage bait? I'm like, sir, this is a Wendy's and these are my opinions. I'm literally just writing down my opinions. I don't actually care whether you're angry about my opinion or not. I'm just giving it. The fact that you're wrong and mad about it is not my problem.
Did you perhaps mistake me for a journalist that has to pretend like they have some sort of neutrality when they write about things? Because I think you've got that wrong.
I love it when people go, oh, you're always wrong about stuff. I've been doing this 10 years.
That's the point.
If it mattered that I was correct about things, I would not be doing this. Speaking of not having to be correct, we've got Alex Geensy Van Gene. Hello, Geensy. You're wrong about stuff. Do you remember Antonelli Piastri?
Yeah, you were wrong about that. To be fair, every single time I've been on and there's been an incident, you've been wrong about it. It's been really great. You generally come back and crawl and go, oh no, actually I was wrong about it. But you've started on the Piastri thing and you're still wrong about it. Everyone thinks you're wrong.
Carlos Sainz, that was the only one I yielded on. Carlos Sainz on Bearman.
That was such a good day. Honestly, in the world of me, when you literally had to cry about it after the show went out and you came back and you told me that you were wrong, I was like, yes! I was on a run when that happened. It made my run even better.
There's actually two. So Monza about Sainz, you were right about that, and I accepted your argument. And then the other one was Kota with Sainz down the inside, and I fought tooth and nail about it. And then afterwards, the show was finished, and I looked at it and I went, oh no! Damn, Alex is right.
I should probably take heed of the guy who races a lot. Has been for over 20 years.
Races a lot. Alex hasn't beaten me at karting for a while, and neither has Scott. Stuffey, Tuffy, hello, Stuffey.
I beat you this year.
I've never beat
karting.
You did.
I've never beat anyone on the Missed Apex panel because you all grew up karting, and I'm only ever able to beat people in my day.
So Matt didn't drive a go-kart until he was 50. That was
but Matt weighs as much as my right leg.
Yeah,
I actually found yesterday my Daytona karting license. So basically, it was the first day I ever went go-karting at Daytona Milton Keynes, which was the first time I ever went karting, and it was the 4th of June, 2006.
Ooh.
Which oddly,
so like
is my eldest daughter's birthday on 2015.
Yeah. Bruce says the sound is better than ever. Good. I did a thing because I've been really struggling with the audio. As a kid, Stuffy, just so you know, right, there was a go-kart track in Colchester, and it was about 15 seconds a lap. And it was like...
50? What?
It was like a bit of a moon curve out, and then there was one hairpin, and then it wiggled, but it was flat out. And then
is that the one near the Ballantyne's gym?
I think it is, yeah. It's gone. It's gone now. It's long gone. And my dad took me there a couple of times. We entered an endurance team league, and so in the first race, I think he took the 4th stint, crashed the car, wrecked it, and so like they gave us another car, but we were well out of the race. And then he came out of it, and my dad went, "That's rubbish. That's £1 a minute. We can't afford. That's stupid. £1 a minute." And that was it. That was pretty much the end of my karting career, and I didn't kart again until I was an adult, doing like army karting stuff.
So can I just do I look tired? Everyone in the chat is saying everyone's saying I was asleep.
You're a parent to a newborn. Of course, you look tired.
Exactly. I did the morning shift.
How old is your kid?
Your kid? She's 14 months.
Oh, she's a year, Scott.
But I did the morning shift.
Scott, speaking grown up, she's a year.
All right, she's a year. She's just over a year old.
Yeah,
I'm
72 months old.
I've done the morning shift. I've done a 4.5 hour live stream, and I'm 3.5 rum cokes down. So that's why I may look tired.
How old are you? 32?
I'm 34.
34 with a young kid is just like the worst age. I'll find some pictures and I'll post them. There's one picture where I look so exhausted. I've got one kid walking. I've got another kid strapped to the front of me. And I've got the roundest faced version of Spanners ever. No facial hair. And you just looked at Wreck and you're like, that guy does not look after himself. That guy is not catching any breaks at all.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I went to the gym. And to be fair, I'm running very hot right now. I've got a hoodie. I'll be back in a jiffy. I need to go change into a t-shirt.
That's fine. Yeah. No, we can completely sympathise with that. Of course, we've all been in Scott's position. I told him not to have kids. I said, look at me, Alex and Matt. Do we look happy? Do we look rested? Do we look fulfilled? No. What the hell are you doing? You're a bad example. But actually, Alex, you're through the worst of the kid stuff. I think when they're below 4, they're terrible. Like, it is crap. Like, it's not even as good as having a cat or a dog. It's just this little lump that you got to look after. And they're not people. They've got mushy brains. They don't know anything. But once they get to like 5, 6, 7, they become your best mates. And you're in the sweet spot now before
7
they become...
and 10.
Oh, it's perfect. It's nearly perfect.
We literally spent the whole day in pajamas. I went to the gym this morning. I came back. The wife went shopping. The kids stayed in pajamas all day long. They played and did things and disappeared. Left me alone during the Grand Prix. Today was great.
Can you really
just had to make them lunch and dinner.
Can you really call that going to the gym with the amounts you lift? I can't believe you even posted that in our group chat. Like,
I'm going back to the gym. It's my first week back. Don't start.
His 1 rep max is like a little, like the earbud that you use to clean your ears out. It's like that. Oh,
yeah, but you can only lift more because you're closer to the ground, so it's easier to lift.
I've got shorter limbs as well. Yeah, shorter limbs is an advantage, but yeah. I still wouldn't have shared that publicly. Right, so
it wasn't publicly; it was in our fat group. Oh no! Share these kind of things without being criticised. You've already broken that rule.
You're right. We need to keep this more contained. Otherwise, we'll start sharing like the progress photos that we do, and trying to explain to my wife why I'm sending a topless photo
to 3 other men,
to 4 or 5 other men. But like, if we made a little progress, kind of, look, I'm slightly less fat. Look at that. And then one time I'd done that, and this lady who works in, she used to work for like Mercedes PR, but I've become friends with her through stuff. And she sent me a message. I was on the tennis court, and it came up on my watch going, did you mean to do that on your WhatsApp profile? And so I was like, what the hell's a WhatsApp profile? And
oh no!
I know. So you can set like a status or something like that.
Yeah.
And basically all that had happened was that I think I was messaging you, Alex, and I think I might have called you a turnip or an idiot or something. But instead of sending it to you, I sent it as my status. And so
I remember this.
Yeah,
I remember this.
What, are you okay? Like, why are you sending like insults as your status? But my mind went to, have I accidentally publicly shared like
because he was in that same time frame.
my tubby photo of me going, I'm not as fat. But oh dear. Right. So yeah, no doing that, Alex. Let's not cancel each other. These guys could cancel me in a heartbeat, and that's why I keep them around. Van Geen's contributions have, as you all can notice, have withered away. Like they've dropped and dropped and dropped. But I can't.
Hang on. Does Van Geen have a kart video coming out on YouTube?
I don't actually.
Oh my god!
I don't actually. I was thinking about this earlier. I've got some to make, but they're not ready to be made yet. This is going to cause anything wrong. But go to Alex Van Geen Racing and subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification.
You're here for the love of F1.
We'll get going.
What you're here for.
Yeah,
I have been on a lot more recently than I have been the beginning part of the year.
We are going to get going in a minute, but we have got kind of an end of school, like last day of term vibe going on. And our equivalent of that is like, okay, at school you can bring in Connect 4 or Mousetrap or a game. We're allowed to bring in our booze. So I am sporting the cheapest co-op whiskey with Coke Zero. That's what I've got going on. And I'm finally feeling okay. And I'll say why. Matt, you're on your normal. What I love about Matt is Matt has whiskies that he likes, like good whiskies, and then he has his daily whiskies. So you have like a daily driver. So you might have like a hat that you wear to the shops and a hat that you'd wear for like special. And you've got
I mean, you don't wear your tux every day. So
what are you on now?
This is actually the cheapest Japanese whiskey you can get in honor of our friend Yuki. It's called Toki. And the thing that I like about it is that it's like very smooth. It's just a nice basic whiskey that has a little bit of character to it, but it's all very subtle stuff. It's not like the big like hit you in the face kind of peaty things that a lot of people also like. So for like a daily drinker for show booze, which I also have show booze, that if you go to Costco and they have the Kirkland blended scotch there, it is quite the deal. Saying no more.
That's quite a lot of information. I really wasn't expecting that level of information.
You should know what happens
if I'd have had you
by now.
If I'd have had you up my back during my failed radio 5 years as a co-host that I could just go to, that would have been killer. Because that would have killed on local radio, that segment. Oh my goodness. Alex, what we on? Oh, you're on wine.
I'm on Jam Shed Red Wine, which is a new wine that my dad introduced me to, and it's blimmin' lovely. It's
not
very
an advert.
drinkable.
You shouldn't have said the brand. Now we have to pay them.
Well, no, it's fine. And as you all know, if you've been to Missed Apex karting events like the one we did in Norris, in Suffolk, I am fine on red wine. No adverse effects. I don't.
You are loud on red wine. It's what you are. You
can tell the story. You can tell the story.
No, it's fine. When I was upstairs in your hotel room with your wife, I could hear you from that. I was carrying your bags. I swear, officer, I was just carrying his bag. No, but you were at the other side of the hotel downstairs, and I'm like, that is your husband's. And she was like, yeah, I know. It's the red wine.
and you guys came back into the room, and I think I was shoving Brad over a sofa. And then Lauren looked at me and went, bed.
Okay, we've got to get another event going. Those things were carnage. Those things were absolute carnage. What we've got, Stuffey, you said you're 3 rum and cokes in?
Well, yeah, actually, they look like rum and cokes. It's actually rum and lemonade. Oh, okay. It's Kraken rum.
No one's judging here, but look at my little delicate thing, and Matt, look at your little glass. You've got basically a pint glass of...
No, it's not. It's like a long glass.
No.
Kraken. It's branded.
Stuffey has very big hands. He has very big hands. That's actually a massive glass that he's doing there. The only thing is with red wine, Alex, is it actually is bad for your mouth for speaking. It can make you kind of be a bit more like... Yeah, I know. But you don't care about things like that.
Tannins, you got to.
I care about your audio.
Yeah, and I'd love to get rid of you, but I can't because of the incriminating photographs you have. I should never have sent nude pictures to Van Jeans consistently over the course of several years. This is a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Does anyone have anything to add before we get going? Because there was a race. In my brain, I'd just forgotten that there was a race.
Was there?
Oh.
Was it much of a race?
No, it wasn't.
It was.
It was
I
a
think there were
typical
hidden depths and dimensions.
Right.
Should I save it? I'm going to save it.
Let's
Save it. I know what you're going to say. So
In fact, yeah. Why don't we make the first topic, was it a good race? The second topic is...
Championship.
No, the second topic is I'm going to do the Lando Norris quote that he did. I know that Alex liked, and I'm going to get Alex to comment on that. And then we'll go into the top three, championship connotations going into it. And then remember, I already did a qualifying and oh yeah, Yuki, that's a big one there. There is some midfield stuff, but it's maybe. In fact, if you've got any midfield stuff, do it for the awards. Oh no, EJ's got the same cups as me, I think.
I was going to say, cheers, everyone. Everyone's got a glass. Everyone's sending in.
Everyone's sharing
watching
what they're drinking. That's really nice.
Cheers. It's been a great. Before we start,
it's been a good season. Yeah, it's been
a great season. Cheers, everyone.
Bloody long season.
I've realised I finished my bottle and that's all that's left now.
You finished the bottle, right? Okay. Oh, I used to have a rule.
It was half a bottle. I
used to have a rule.
We're straying into Thunder Beast territory.
I know. Okay, so that's the final thing I'll say. Right, we used to have a rule, and it's the Thunder Beast rule. It's my friend Tony, and we served together, and he did some content a while back, but he's given up now. But I said, I don't mind anyone drinking on any of these shows. It's absolutely fine because that's what we do. We do if we're in a pub. Please turn up sober. That was my only request. Arrive sober, then do what you want. And that is because Tony turned up after having had a litre of White Lightning cider. And then we tried to do a triple record of our dad podcast. And he got through another litre. And by the end, the stories he was telling were the grimmest things you've ever had. And I was like, obviously can't use any of that. Oh my God.
Matt says, "Shall we all jump on iRacing now?" I'm going to after the podcast, which is why we need to hurry up. I'm going to do the 11:15. I'm going to do the 11:15 Formula C race.
Honestly,
I need to sort out my safety rating.
This podcast is just getting in the way of my Christmas drinking and iRacing. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I say here we go, and then I get in. Can it just be this? What did I just say the first topic was going to be? Oh,
was it a good race?
Was it a good race? Yeah. I was just having fun then and hanging out with my mates and having a chat. And then suddenly when we decided to start the pod, I'm like, oh, I've got to go into producer mode, job mode, and figure out. Stuffey was a late addition, by the way. That's why he didn't make the cover. Thanks for jumping on last minute, Scott.
He's too ugly for the cover. That's more the reason.
Are you kidding?
He looks too tired.
I would have complete confidence in myself if it wasn't for Charles Leclerc and Scott Stuffey Tuffy. Bye shark do. No, okay. What do I say? How do I start shows? Okay. Oh yes, I remember.
Spinny thing.
You are listening to. That's the one, isn't it? And make sure that we're recording the show. Oh, here we go. One. I said to the kids, I said, last one, and they were, is that the last one of the year? I'm like, no, it's just the last one anyone's going to listen to. So that was it. We'll keep going all year. Here we go. You are listening to Missed Apex Podcast. We live F1. Welcome to Missed Apex Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Reddy, but my friends call me Spanners. So, let's be friends as we dive into our Abu Dhabi Grand Prix race review. Not a season review. We will do those later in the week. But I'm really excited to be here with a 4-person panel for the last show of 2025 that anyone will listen to. We will be doing content all through the winter, weekly content, so do feel free to come and join our community if you want to keep talking about and listening to F1 stuff over the winter at patreon.com/missedapex. We have a new champion. Lando Norris has the number 1 on his car, if he wants to have it, for next season. And he was very emotional. It was all very wholesome. You could see how much it meant to his family, how much it meant to his team. And when he was asked what it means to him, he did cite the fact that his crew is happy, and he has made his team happy, the team that he's dragged around the world, away from their family members, away from their lives back home, and he's been able to make them happy with his achievement. And I believe him. I believe that was a motivation. And the big reason I was pushing for McLaren to do team orders in this final race, if it meant one of their drivers over Verstappen, was because it means a lot to the team. If Verstappen had won because they didn't do team orders or whatever, it would have been the Red Bull guys celebrating. And I have to say, seeing the emotion with GP, with Max Verstappen's team engineer, you could see how much that championship push meant to the Red Bull guys as well. In sport, there always has to be a loser for there to be a winner, but they left everything on the table and they pushed all the way to the end and they won the race. So absolutely magnificent performance from Red Bull this season. But yeah, it was the McLaren guys celebrating, and Lando Norris was able to deliver that to them. So coming up, we'll discuss, did anyone leave any championship crumbs on the table? Could Max have done more in this season finale? Could Ferrari have just done that the whole time? Turn up with a competitive car? Did Tsunoda fail to Perez successfully? And more on this season finale episode of Missed Apex Podcast. We are an independent podcast produced in the podcasting shed with the kind support of our patrons and partners. We aim to bring you a race review before your Monday morning commute. We might be wrong, but we're first. I'm joined here by Matt Trumpets. Hello, Matt.
Hey there, Spanners. I gotta say, and I hope that Charles does not take this the wrong way, but I think I'm going to have to call him the Big Leclerc from now on.
So because his brother was in FP1 and all the other race engineers were saying things like, oh, you've got Leclerc behind you, you've got Big Leclerc. Oh, no, that's Little Leclerc. Oh no, I think Red Bull called him Leclerc Jr.
Which is funny because I think his brother's actually older than he is, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's even funnier. But, yeah.
So thank you to Tom, who's posted that motorsport.com has learned from the paddock that Lambiassi's role for next year has not yet been finalised. He's got some personal circumstances and he may be stepping away from the senior race engineer role. Okay, thank you for that information. That does explain perhaps why he was so emotional. Speaking of emotional, we're joined by the charismatic YouTuber, Alex Geensy Van Gene. Hello, Alex.
Good evening, Spanners, and what an emotional end to the season it has been. It was really great to see it. I was really, really happy at the end of the race. It was the guy who I thought should have won from the beginning. If he hadn't messed it up so bad, he could have made it a little bit easy for himself. Yeah. But no, it's been a fine season with a good final result.
Well, it's been engaging because we haven't known who's going to win. I've gone through an emotional roller coaster. Do you remember that period where I was fully just, oh, Max is the only one who deserves to win this. The McLaren guys are biffing it.
I still kind of believe that Max was the most deserving person. He was 104 points behind
104 points
and
behind.
Finished 2 points behind. If it wasn't for one tantrum in Spain, he would definitely be world champion right now. But hey, you sometimes can't control your tantrums.
Is that the most expensive tantrum of all time? Of course, he'll point to other things. Loads of things happened. Antonelli also took him out. So, we will definitely do a breakdown of all the points that have been lost at some point.
My point to that, though, is a lot of the other stuff that happened is stuff that happens in racing. This was a thing in his head that 100% could have been avoided just by going, I'm not going to smash into the side of George Russell.
Yeah, it was pretty poor. I rewatched it. I showed my wife it earlier and she went, what the hell? I was like, yeah. But I think he's on a bit of a redemption arc where he knows now. He's talked about that and he's gone, that wasn't good. I think he's kind of gone, that's not who I want to be. So we'll see as that evolves.
To be fair, Max has kind of endeared himself to me this year. I think from that point, really, he's actually been the best driver on the grid by a country mile and has just been enjoying himself.
All right, let's not get carried away. But okay, I get your point. When I said talented YouTuber, did you assume that I was talking about our other YouTube talent on the panel tonight, which is Scott Stuffey Tuffy? Hello, Scott.
Hey, Spanners, good to be back. A nice 4-person panel to round off the season.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I'm not sure I like this new Red Bull because I was expecting a lot more shenanigans in this finale, and we didn't get any.
It's a very different Red Bull, isn't it? This is a Mekis Red Bull. And when you go from a British team principal to a French one, you'd think they'd just get ruder, more belligerent, more wary against England, but
give up.
No, and I was actually really disappointed that all those scenarios we were talking about, the backing up and everything, didn't happen. And actually, what I was saying was, I don't think this was actually a good race. So I'll ask you, Matt, was this a good race?
Well, if you mean by a good race, it was close for the win at the end. No, it was not. But if you mean almost anything else by it, then yes, it was actually an incredible race. And you'll never guess where it started.
Qualifying?
With the tires, of course. With the tires.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, nice one.
Because think about it. Last year, Lando won this race, stopping on lap 26. Nobody made it this far, despite the tires being universally acknowledged as being better and less prone to graining. They were actually worse at this specific track. And some of that has to do with the track surface. There was some repaving and whatever. It gave us a real interesting race. And it gave Norris, I think, very importantly, this wasn't just one where he pitted out of third into third and came across the line. He had to go earn that puppy at least a little bit in the middle of the race.
So the chat are pointing out that there was some shenanigans, that the Yuki thing was shenaniggy. That's Dimitri there. I would argue that was failed shenanigans. He gave it a good go. But don't worry, we are actually going to cover that in the Lando Norris section, which is sort of next. But yeah, Scott, I don't think that was an entertaining race. I think you need Matt levels of geekery to go, oh no, it's really fascinating with the hard compound graining.
It's your typical Abu Dhabi finale. I've been very against this track being the finale of the F1 season since its introduction.
Yeah.
There was a brief period where it was replaced by Interlagos, and we have never had a poor finale at Interlagos. And I just don't think this track is suited for being the finale. Now, if it was at the start of the season when the performance levels are a bit more variable, I think we may get some decent results there, and some decent races. But at the end of the season, this race just generally tends to be in order of the Constructors' Championship. Yeah. There's never any surprises. The leader ends up just winning by 20 plus seconds. And there's literally this race will not go down in my memory. The whole season, moments in the season will. No. This race won't. And even prior to this, the only two incidences that obviously stick out in my mind are the obvious from a few years ago and Lewis backing up the field in 2016. Other than that, I can't remember anything. And that's just this track.
Yeah. And so you go, oh, there's 3 drivers that are battling for the championship at Abu Dhabi. You go, oh. Did anyone hear when Christina was defending Abu Dhabi and saying it was a good track on the last show?
No.
That made me mad. That made me mad at her. Like, I'm mad at her now. We might even be enemies. I don't like this track for the finale at all.
Sorry, just before Alex comes in, I will say, look, the improvements that they've made to turn 9 and turn 5 have improved the racing. We saw a great overtake from us of Piastri at the start. We saw multiple overtakes down into that turn 9, whereas prior to that, it was very rare that we'd see anything into the old chicane there. So that does improve it. However, from the most part, they're normally for positions that don't really matter.
I think the litmus test for this is if it was in the middle of the seaon, it's one of those. It would have been one of those races. Fine. If it happened exactly the way it did just now, it would have been one of the races you'd have a nap in the middle, go and have a cup of tea. It wouldn't be a problem to get up and go have a cup of tea and come back for a typical standard Grand Prix. But however, there is the other side of it. I remember Brazil 08. I don't want to go through that stress again ever in my life. So there is a thing for maybe just to have a little bit more of a by the numbers. If you're a completely on the fence Chris Stevens type
I don't favour
I don't
any
support
driver.
anybody.
Ugh.
Then
Gross.
Brazil is amazing, but I can't take those kind of stress levels in my life anymore.
Again, like Chris would be, I'd consider him a friend, except for the fact that he will not pick a side. I hate that.
Sits on the fence. I would much prefer to see the swapping of Bahrain as the opener of the season to Abu Dhabi being
now that's
the finale.
Interesting. That'd be a deal.
Because Bahrain, exactly, because Bahrain we actually get racing at. And I think that even with it being at the end of the season, when the performance of the cars and development kind of converges, we've seen that Bahrain is a proven track for racing with the abrasiveness of the circuit, the multiple tyre compounds that are required and the varying strategies, and just the layout of the circuit invites overtaking. So Abu Dhabi, unfortunately, just doesn't... I had low expectations coming into it, and that's kind
expectation
of how
management
I walked away from it.
Was very important. Expectation management was really important. Like even with Qatar, you go, expect nothing. Qatar is Monaco levels, but it was always likely to kind of fizzle out. Alex, last one.
With regards to Scott's Bahrain comment, I have a feeling, and this is probably a winter season topic, but I actually believe there probably isn't a good track for the first race of the season because everyone takes it so easy and so gingerly and is testing out their cars.
Yeah,
but
it might be that.
That's a thought provoking one for later in the winter.
Lando Norris is world champion. Just let that sink in. He's been in Formula One for 7 seasons, 2019 debut, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 7 seasons in Formula One. He's had a good-ish record against his teammates. He's been up against Carlos Sainz, Daniel Ricciardo. He's stuck with a team that was not doing great when he joined them. It was solidly outside the top 3. There's no way he didn't have any input and any kind of anything to contribute to that team getting up to the top of the grid. The rise of McLaren from outside that power top 3 to very often the fastest car over the last 2 years has been phenomenal. I wish I knew the name, and maybe Matt does, of the person who is held responsible for coming up with a concept that has moved McLaren up to the top of the grid. But Lando Norris has been with them on that journey. Remember, other drivers have gone, no thanks, I'm better than this. So I'm sure that's not what Carlos Sainz was thinking, but he said, I think Ferrari's a better prospect. And it wasn't. It chewed him up and it spat him out. Hamilton said, Ferrari's a better prospect. Lando Norris said, I want to stay with McLaren and see this project through. I am sure he had other opportunities and other offers. So well done, massive well done to Lando Norris, who I'm sure I'm guilty of having downplayed or having been not a fan of in the past, but he has absolutely achieved his dream. And I just want to read out what he said. I'm taking this from the race website. I want to know what Alex thinks of this. So I had problems with Lando Norris because of his comments about Lewis Hamilton. He said, I know at times I say some stupid things. I say some things about Max, or I might have said some things about Lewis in the past. Some things I regret, I wish I could take back and never have come out of my mouth. But honestly, I honestly believe I gave more respect than anyone else. I give more respect to Oscar. I give more respect to Max. Lewis is a 7-time world champion. You compare him to Schumacher, the best driver there has ever been in Formula One. Okay, well, he's wrong about that. I dream. I'm not even close to that. I might never be. I dream of those kind of things. I dreamt of that today, and I've managed to achieve one of the 7 compared to him. He also compared his title to, he said, it's my little dream, which is something I've done as well. What have we said several times in our Missed Apex chats and in our dad podcasts? Sorry, family, I'm chasing my stupid dream. Alex, never give up on your stupid dreams.
Yeah, and listen, he's 26 years old. He's a baby. In response to 3 of us in here, at least, anyway. And when you're that age, you make stupid decisions, you say stupid things, and you grow up and you learn things. And I think it was easy for him to say, because the thing that we were upset about as Lewis fans with Lando was he said, he's only got his teammate to beat. And this season, he only had his teammate to beat, and he only just did it. And Max came into it because he couldn't comprehensively beat his teammate, right? And for him to be able to sit back after having lived it now and go, actually, what I said was wrong, and I apologise for that, basically, and I respect what actually has been happening. I accept that as a, do you know, that's a grown-up moment of reflection.
It's a funny thing. If you've not sat in the chair, as a friend of mine who got a last minute call to play with the New York Philharmonic told me this story, you don't really appreciate what the person is going through. And now Lando has sat in that chair, and I think has given him a new perspective. You don't really understand from the inside what's required to win a world championship, especially at that level, which is the highest level you could achieve across the best actor, the best singer, performer, whatever athlete it is. You are at the top there, and it does take something special. It takes something, and you don't know until you're there if you're going to be able to do it. And that's the worst part.
I think this season for Lando Norris will definitely be viewed as two different halves, because I think so much credit needs to be attributed to him. While, of course, Oscar, on the flip side, had a very big downturn in performance and arguably threw this championship away after Zandvoort, Lando regrouped after that. And I don't know if anyone else picked it up, but something mentally changed there. He was a lot more positive. He was approaching things very differently. The way he was in the media was a bit like, oh, okay, Lando, you're snapping back a bit of people now, whereas normally you're kind of nicey. Of course, we've seen the development of him since he came into F1, but there's more self-belief there, and he's more just going about his business, and he continued to just pluck away at those points. And if it wasn't for McLaren, this race would not have even come down to the last race of the season. Yeah. At minimum, he would have had a 20-plus lead over his teammates. So I think a lot of credit needs to go to Lando. Yes, Max has done brilliantly to get back into his championship, but after Zandvoort, he's been a completely different driver.
Let's just be careful not to stray too much into season review, but I'll take the last points from Matt and Alex and then get back to the race.
So, I mean, my point goes into today. He lost the lead. He lost second place almost straight away to Oscar. He didn't panic. He didn't do anything stupid. He didn't go over the radio and say anything crazy. He let Leclerc be in his DRS uncomfortably close for a very long time. Didn't panic. Didn't make a mistake. Was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm looking after my tyres. I was looking after my tyres through turns 3 and 4, I think it was, and then making sure he had the right amount of speed to get down the straight so that Leclerc didn't get him.
I have things to say about Leclerc.
It was me too. It was a really well managed race, and I think today's race shows the maturity growth that Lando has had throughout the season.
Regardless of Leclerc, Lando was ballsy today. When he came out behind the midfield drivers, he came out behind the Liam Lawson. He made a double overtake down into turn 6 at the end of the back straight.
I screamed when that happened.
Go into detail about that.
That was ballsy, because he's overtaking Stroll. He could have just comfortably slotted in behind Stroll, but he went, no, I'm going to shove it up the inside of this RB. I'm not letting him play games with me, because that's, I think, what a lot of us expected today. I did expect the RBs to also start on the hard compound tyre today and play into these shenanigans, but it seemed to be it was just one of those drivers. And my goodness, when I saw him dispatch them as quickly as he did, yes, people will say he was on fresh hard compound tyres, but I'm sorry, if that's Lando at the start of the season, he's not making those moves, let alone in a finale when he has something that he's dreamt about his whole life. I mean, credit where it is due, because he could have just lost so much time behind those drivers.
Double overtakes are a scary thing to do, because they don't necessarily happen on purpose, because he would have gone to overtake Stroll. Now, overtaking Stroll is a scary enough feat as it is, because he might just wobble over into the side of you anyway. But to then launch up the inside into at the end of the straight to that RB was phenomenal. And it caught the RB by surprise, and it was like, oh, that just happened. And then they continued to fight behind him as he just drove off into the distance. It was fantastic. But the whole thing was, he did the moves as he got to people. There was no waiting.
No,
he got to them, bang, straight past them. Exactly what Max would do. And it was absolutely epic to see. And yeah, ballsy to do when you're the one with everything on the line.
And those double overtakes. I think it was Brad that said in Spa, we were all like glazing over the Albon double overtake. And Brad went, yeah, but sometimes in racing, you almost have no choice but to do that. Like, I was like, oh, I'll overtake one. It would be harder not to overtake the other one. But it caught Lawson by surprise. That was the key thing, because Lawson was getting ready like, okay, he's going to overtake Stroll. Then it's my turn. I'm going to be the Perez. Everyone is going to talk about me. And it's like, no, it happened immediately.
It was so important as well in the whole grandstanding of things. Sorry, Matt.
You just talked over Matt, and Matt was going to make
I'm
great
sorry.
point.
He seems very upset. Go on, Trumpets.
It is absolutely fine. It's just, I had something to say about 10 minutes ago and never got my chance.
Sorry, Matt, sorry.
So I will hear from Alex and Matt. No, we'll hear from Alex and Scott.
Yeah, Alex
and Scott
does
and
that
Alex
all
and
the
Alex
time.
and Scott and Spanners, and then Scott and Alex and Scott. Anyway,
I was
it's
out
all
the run.
fine.
He's going to mention tyres and we're going to regret this.
No, actually, I'm not. The thing that strikes me most about this, just a big picture thing, because the double overtakes thing was, again, I said at the top of the show, those overtakes were Norris positively winning this championship. Say what else, say anything else about him the whole rest of the season. When it was all on the line, he didn't just sort of hang on to it by his fingernails. He went out and said, no, I'm going to make this happen. But when you are driving a car, and that car does not suit you. And this is what both Lando and Oscar have now been through with this car. Your job is to lose as few points as possible. And it's very easy to attribute the driver having a bad time. So like simply, they don't have the tool to do the job the way they need to do the job. And the hard thing about that is the confidence. To understand it's not you at this moment, it's you working with the team to find where that sweet spot in the setup is, or in his case, they brought the front end development. It's not losing your belief in yourself across that period. That is the really hard thing. And he did it. He did the thing. And so, yeah, chapeau.
I think a lot of credit also has to go to McLaren as a team, because their strategy today worked very well. They knew exactly who they was fighting against. In that first pit stop, they pitted him at a perfect time. George was looking like he was going to do that undercut, quite a serious undercut on both Lando and Charles. And they pitted Lando, and thankfully for Lando, Charles didn't stay out either and go longer on those tyres. Ferrari also decided to cover off the undercut of Russell. And both decisions for them to pit, considering what had happened in Vegas, considering what had happened in Qatar, they'd invited an unnecessary amount of pressure on themselves in this last race of the season. Not just on the drivers, but on the pit wall and the pit crew themselves. And they were faultless this weekend. Lando converted it. And I mean, you just have to give kind of tip your cap to everyone involved in McLaren over this race weekend.
I agree. They did not, when push came to shove, they knew who they were racing and they know exactly which position they were racing for. And they made, although I have some thoughts about Piastri, as far as Norris is concerned, they always understood who they had to cover, where they were on track. And they were faultless today, which they have not always been.
Could they be accused of leaving Oscar out to dry a little bit? Did he go a little bit too far and probably should have come in maybe 10 laps sooner?
Oh, as soon as they realised that Norris had to pit, they were like, Oscar who? Right, so here's a point, and I think Scott might expand on this as well, is that I think Piastri knew after Qatar, when he didn't get that win, he was so devastated because for him, that was championship over. And then I think after qualifying, it really must have become clear to the management, to Piastri himself, and his whole demeanour, I think, said, I know there's still an outside chance, but I know now we're skewing the tactics towards securing a Lando Norris, which is fine. I think I support that decision. Scott.
Yeah, and I think Piastri's only hope was to goal hang that old strategy of just goal hanging for a safety car. That's why he started on the hards, hoping that he'd get a cheap pit stop, the only way he was going to win this race, win the championship, was to win the race, which means he had to beat Max Verstappen, who was in a strong Red Bull. So the safety car was his only bet, and that's why he stayed out so long as he did. They could have brought him in sooner to try and fight with Max, but they probably knew they didn't have the machinery to beat him on a level playing field. They needed that tyre offset, something out of the ordinary to happen. And you're right, Spanners, after qualifying, it was probably evident.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
From the Red Bull's performance, I'm not going to win this. This is a very, very long shot.
Right. So let's talk. Is there anything McLaren could have done with Piastri? And this, to me, if there was a championship crumb left on the table, I think Piastri actually had a really good shot at beating Max today, but not with a one-stop. He was on the hard tire. You expect him to go long. That's the way that strategy works. But we saw already at the beginning of the race, Hamilton, Hülkenberg, and Albon, I believe, clearly in for a two-stop. And once everyone had pitted out of his way, you could just watch on the race trace. You could see the delta. You could see Max approaching him. But here's the thing. Because they had already gotten so far in front of everybody else at that point, if he'd pitted, say, around lap 27, was it 27? Yeah, I believe it was around 27. He would have been ahead, just ahead of Norris, but on a medium tire that he only needed to run for about 10 laps. He could have gone right back onto his other hard tire. And in those 10 laps, he would have been close to Max and able to push him because he's only got to get 10 laps out of these tires. Max is on his hard tires for the whole race. And either Max damages his tires defending or he gets ahead. That's what I think personally. I think there's enough performance there over a short period. And then coming back, he would only have had Leclerc and Norris to deal with, but Leclerc went for a two-stop. That solves that problem. And with that free pit stop, you can pit Norris again, so he has no problems to the end. So now he's chasing Max across a much smaller distance. With hard tires, it would have been about 23 laps old at the end, which is a significant delta if you saw the performance drop off after that. So I would like to talk to McLaren once they had a chance to sit down, have a whiskey, look at the data, and say, is there something that I missed about why you absolutely didn't do that? Because I think they would have pushed Max and it would have been a much more interesting race.
I don't think they're going to be talking about any of that. Oh my God, no, they're going to sit down and go, oh, I heard this Trumpets guy talking about hard tyre deltas. Thanks for your patience, guys, by the way. I know a four-person panel doesn't leave a lot of room. But Alex and then Stuffey, please.
It is entirely back to Hungary last year where they said to Lando, let Oscar win this race. You are going to need him in the future. And I'm pretty certain that was ringing rather loud in all of their ears in the post-race after the last Grand Prix, where Lando probably went, remember when you said I'm going to need Oscar? Well, for Abu Dhabi, I need Oscar.
I've got a coupon. I've got this coupon from Hungary.
It's as simple as that. They were never trying to make Oscar. They were never trying to give Oscar any chance of winning this Grand Prix. He was there to be there in case something happened, and something happened to Max and to Lando, and Oscar could pick up the points.
Agree.
I don't agree entirely, but
then we'll move on.
Wrong.
Matt.
Then you're wrong.
No, because I think the key factor here is that there were not enough cars that were quick enough to put themselves in between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. It was quite evident very early on, as it has been for anyone who's paid attention throughout this season, it was all aboard the Alonso train. The gap to Fernando Alonso and those top five spread out quite quickly, as it so often has done this season. Yes, Alonso had a great race, but that's arguably the worst car that you need there. They needed Kimi in there. Piastri and Verstappen needed Kimi Antonelli up there today. Sorry. Kimi Antonelli up there today. They needed Lewis Hamilton up there today, putting in a performance that Charles Leclerc put in. Like that, those were the drivers they needed, not Fernando Alonso, who was building a nice pit stop window for Lando Norris and those to pit into. So it was quite evident early on that the only opportunity for Piastri was that safety car.
Here's the thing, though. If I'm Team McLaren, the best possible outcome is Max does not win the race. Why would you not use Oscar? I mean, even if it went wrong, he's already third. He can't be fourth. Why would you not roll those dice in the middle of the race and really put the pressure on Max for the win? This is the thing I don't understand. And there may be some real technical reason behind it. But I mean, 10 laps on a medium tire, how, hey, Oscar, would you like to go run 10 laps on the medium tire as close to qualifying pace as you can in the middle of the race once you're kind of light on fuel? Why as a racing driver would you ever say no to that?
So we're sort of talking about like how the McLaren race went. It went exactly as they needed it to for Lando Norris to finish third. And I found it quite interesting. I think that Piastri was on low downforce. They had a little bit of a screen in between the drivers, so they couldn't share data. So I think Piastri ended up going for a more qualifying performance, lower downforce. And that's why I think at the beginning, Piastri was able to just streak by and just go. And I was really, really worried when Leclerc was within 0.4 seconds, obviously a little bit of a lower downforce, and had several opportunities to overtake. A suspicious amount of opportunities to overtake. I honestly think, right, and we'll go to Verstappen next, I honestly think Leclerc literally just did not want to be part of that battle. He said before the race, I'm in the worst position because I know, like Matt said this over and over again, no one wants to be Latifi. He said that in the preview like a bunch of times. He could have overtaken, he could have at least put his nose into Piastri on turn 1 of the opener, backed off. Had a chance to go, he was in fact down the inside into the hairpin and he just backed off. Had a great run on Lando Norris with DRS and just kind of weakly stayed on the outside and kind of braked semi-hard. He did not want to get involved. And he probably knew that if he got past, he didn't have the race pace to defend anyway. Scott.
Well, you've just rounded off your point there at the end perfectly.
Oh, sorry.
No, you've just rounded it off perfectly. I think that's exactly it. I don't think Charles ever thought that his fight was truly for a podium. I think he was probably shocked with the level of race pace he had. There was at no point. There is at no point this weekend any viewer seriously sat there with 23 rounds that we have just witnessed of Ferrari. Okay, Qatar was a big outlier for them, but there's no way you've seen the whole season, watched FP1, FP2, FP3 and qualifying and sat there and gone, they've got a chance of a podium this race.
No.
Sir Charles was probably as shocked as we all were that he was staying as close with Lando. So he was probably quite happy, yes, sitting where he was, not going for these late lunges, because he's like, a P4 is a bloody damn well good result here, beating George Russell in the last race of the season.
He's like me when I got invited onto the Sky Sports Monday programme. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Oh, my God.
I love that. However, as you were often fond of reminding me, you'd never really know how much pace someone is running when they're managing. And from having had a look at some of Lando's lap times, I don't think they were ever, Ferrari, really in it to win a podium spot, even if he'd gotten ahead briefly. And the other thing to think about that with regards to Leclerc, and especially why Lando seemed slow there, is the win is the most time on the best tire in clean air. And today, I think it was very conclusive that the hard tire was better on the McLaren than the medium tire. And Lando knew that. He knew it was fragile, and it led to the best thing ever. Do you remember Zach saying, there are no team orders here at all?
Yeah.
Right? You remember that? Okay.
I would rather run a bus full of children off a cliff than impose team orders. I will never do it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, imagine you're Lando and you're at your team briefing. Okay, Lando, you're starting second. We've had a good chat with the both of you about, going into turn 1, not taking each other out. And, by the way, should Oscar go whistling around you on lap 1, you only need to finish third there. And if he's in front of you, he's going to be pushing Max, which means he can't back us up into the Ferraris. Or, at that point, they would have thought maybe the Mercedes before they realized Mercedes completely got it wrong. So I'm not saying just let him buy. However, it would probably be in your long-term interest if he was in front of you. So not a team order exactly, but...
And the whole race, they were saying to Piastri, go get him, go get, even when it was... Yeah.
Which is why I'm surprised they didn't go for the 2-stop, because that was even more aggressive and would have pushed Max on his tires even harder.
So if he's pushing, Max can't do the super backup thing, really.
Yeah, because Oscar on those amazing hard tires will just be like, oh, you're trying to back me up. How about I just pass you instead?
Okay, I think I'm fully on board now. Piastri was helping Norris today.
I also think that I don't think when Lewis did it and backed everybody up, I think Mercedes had a much bigger power advantage. So they could save everything up, and back it all up, and then floor it on the straights. I don't think Max had that advantage, and I think, as Matt just says, they'd have just passed him. And I don't think there would have been a chance.
Yeah. Well done, Matt. Good point. That makes up for all the tyre stuff you did earlier. That
makes about. 2 for our entire history together.
So, apparently Mia said... Oh, hang on. In the pen, Mia said that Leclerc said he wasn't getting involved in a World Drivers' Championship decider. I think that's entirely fair, especially like the media. So the media is kind of playing a big role in how these drivers respond, because 20 years ago, they could have got involved and there wouldn't be the same backlash. But now he's got to think about, he's got a dog to support. He also has a partner who has a social media presence herself. And so you go, oh, I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to be the villain. I don't want to have like a Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds type scandal around me being the guy that ruined the championship. So I think everyone on that grid, except for the proponents, the Red Bull affiliated drivers, Alonso, who's kind of like, freelance Red Bull, and maybe Russell, who I think would have taken any opportunity just because he loves rustling. He's like, I'm George Russell. I'm going to go get me my podium. Title fight? What title fight? Everyone else was like, whoa, we do not want to be involved in a 2021 decider type thing.
But
go on, Alex, go on.
But Lando is Russell. Lando and Russell are mates.
Yes, they're like fully
I don't think Russell would have troubled Lando. I actually don't think he would have.
I think he'd have been like, I know Lando's my friend. We've shared all these memories together, but look at the shiny podium.
What do you mean he just likes to Russell? What do you mean he just likes to go for the opportunity?
Scott.
Well, this is the difference in the current Formula One driver, is that they've grown up. They're a lot more pally now. They're more... Yes, they go on about, when it comes to wheel and fighting for world championships, they're rivals. But they are exactly that. They are friends. I mean, not to compare sim racing to F1, but with the web moments, I know most of the time we want to kind of get one over on our teammates, but there's been even in our own championship, people have decided to not get in the way of the overall championship decider because they don't want to be that person that receives the backlash.
I'm the opposite.
I'm the opposite.
I actively help Kyle to win the championship because Danny's Northern, so I don't want him to win. And me and Alex now, because we've been racing together for a fair amount of time, we actively avoid each other. There's one clip of us racing where I was on fully one side of the hairpin and Alex was all the way on the inside of the hairpins because we've got an understanding.
Unless you've got a particular horse in the race, as you said, unless you're Team Lando, you're Team Verstappen, you're not going to get in the way of that fight unless it favours the team that you're in favour of. And Charles may have been on neither of the teams and just wanted to stay out of it. And George, I think I agree with you, Alex. I think he probably would have just said, I don't have the pace. I don't have the pace to stay with these McLarens. They're losing me in. They're losing me in the corners. They're built for
combat.
They're built for combat. So that's what I think would have happened if George was there. And maybe that's what happened today because Mercedes' race pace was a little bit suspect in how it dropped.
Kimi was 15th.
No, but it was they had pace on the newer tyres. I don't think they had pace on the older tyres. Oh, Matt's giving me that look of like, I've got statistics for this.
Well, I looked at Russell's radio a little bit, and he had a problem with the clutch, setting the clutch for the start. Okay, and then about lap 2, he radioed in. He was having issues with brake temperature. And about 3 laps later, he noted that the casing of the front right tire was actually already on the limit. So I think you can successfully conclude that Mercedes got it very wrong for today because they still don't entirely understand the car, just like the rest of the grid. So it was a surprise to not have them as players, but it did open a nice hole for Leclerc and Ferrari to feel slightly better about themselves.
Matt, I have a question. You said the casing of the front right tyre. Now, obviously, I know what that means, but can you explain
me too.
Can you explain to the people listening who
Stuffey has no idea, so can you please explain it to Stuffey?
In a few short words, the casing is also referred to as the bulk, and this is the essentially the foundation of the tire. It's the bead and it's the weave of the different plies and connected by the sidewall. And atop that, you lay the actual rubber, which is the tread. And those compounds it's not all a single compound. They can be sort of multiple layers depending upon where it is in the contact patch and depending upon how much camber you run. I'm just doing this now to see Spanner's facial.
So you're saying the top bit of the tire was coming away from the rest of it?
And so when you're talking about the casing, when you're talking about tire temperatures, the surface of the tire doesn't matter as much. What you're really talking about is those deep foundation temperatures. And that's what he was talking about. He's like, I've already overheated by like lap 5, the front right tire. And so the whole race for them was one of limitation because the brakes and the tires were, if you go any faster, it overheats and you lose more lap time. And so that's as fast as you can go when the car does that to you.
All right.
Cool. That's interesting. I felt, despite the faces Spanners was putting, I found that interesting.
Okay, good. Yeah. But I mean, if you don't care about the pace of content, then great. Yeah, it's fine. Just do that. Let's talk about tire carcasses.
That was barely 10 minutes. I don't know what you're talking about.
That was only 10 minutes. Oh my God.
Just 10. Yeah.
We have to go to the Yuki thing now. So we've kind of established why. Scott's straight with his hands up. Everyone's got their hands up. We've established kind of why Verstappen didn't back the pack up and why that might not have worked. But that doesn't mean that they could not try and deploy some shenanigans. And I am a fan of Yuki Tsunoda, and I'm gutted that he's lost his place. And I have many things to say about that in the season review. Yes, Scott, we're going to go to you first. But what Yuki did today was borderline criminal. And we were saying, oh, Red Bull are all nice now because of Mekis. What? They just deployed like an assassin mid-race. I'm not happy with Yuki today, Scott. That was an absolute that was a horror move.
And Scott loves Yuki Tsunoda.
Oh, shit.
You had one job.
Oh, my God.
One job,
Order
Yuki.
66. Eliminate the Jedi.
Sergio Perez was sitting back in his lovely mansion in Mexico saying, I laid the foundations for you. You have a whole montage of my defense as the Ministry of Defense back in 2021.
Perez.
And you decided to defend on one of the longest races on the calendar and pick up a 5-second time penalty in doing so.
Perez walked so you could run, Yuki, and you did that?
Oh my God, the man deserved the 5-second time penalty for his just pure ineptitude.
God. I am hearing...
Why did he... Like, he's told on the radio, Charles is 1.4 seconds behind. And Yuki has the audacity to go, leave me alone, I know what to do.
Oh my God.
Clearly you don't, brother.
So he did the whole, I got this, and then he didn't got this. Yeah.
Exactly, like, the one sector you hold up position, and you can hold up a position who is on a car that is much faster than you.
Hotel.
Is sector 3.
Hotel.
And he decided to just go through that full speed and then defend into turn 5 and weave left, right, and centre down the start-finish straight. Now, we'll get onto the actual penalty itself. That's really the big topic of conversation here of many
No, I think it's
people
valid to say, like, what were Red Bull trying to achieve with that? Like, what did they tell Tsunoda to do?
So, it was a viable strategy. We knew beforehand 100% Yuki was going to start on the hards. As soon as those tyre blankets were removed, the strategy was run Yuki long, keep the McLarens within that pit stop window of 21 seconds, and that's what they did. But, yeah, Yuki, maybe, I now have a theory.
Okay.
Yuki put up the least amount of effort possible because
no.
he feels hard done by it.
No,
but
I don't
his
think
seat
so.
has been relinquished.
I think that
from
was
him.
his best effort. They were like, right, you go out there and you be utter filth. And that was his best attempt to do that.
I mean, there's a line between being utter filth and actually wrecking out someone's competitor. And he left enough margin to not cross that line. However, I was surprised to see him in the way at all because I didn't expect the pit stops to happen for about another 10 laps. And I think if that had been the case, he would have never been in position really to trouble him. So I think part of it is like he sort of didn't expect to be there and didn't really have the pace to do a lot of serious defending. But also the stewards were on one today about driving standards. And it started before this incident and carried on well after. And I don't often say this, but I think some of the things they said in their decision document are actually really good for racing. And that almost is never the case.
We touched upon it in the Qatar race review that I do think that this annual driver briefing or annual driver racing guideline review that they have now at Qatar has had an impact on how the stewards are reviewing. I saw it pop up for the first time ever since I've been doing watch-alongs and so forth, like actually watching the data. They actually popped up that Charles Leclerc was being investigated for moving under braking while racing George Russell. And this was prior to the Yuki incident. And I applauded as such. Now, I can't remember that incident, but there's been too much moving under braking for my liking since these new regulations, driving guidelines have been introduced. And I was so glad to see that. And I do think this driver briefing that they had in Qatar has had a genuine effect. And it's shown in there and it's shown here this weekend.
And Leclerc loves to move under braking. He's done it and against George Russell. They've had this argument multiple times over multiple seasons. So I'm glad they're picking up on it. But obviously, they then wanted to pick up on what happened between Yuki and Lando, with Lando overtaking off the circuit. Mm-hmm. So what we saw there for people, there is. As you can imagine, there is lots of outrage on social media. Lando overtook. No. Oh, the FIA are in a British bias. They're French. Why on earth would they have British bias? And what actually happened there? So what actually happened was, it's not about the amount of times that Yuki moved. He did move multiple times. It was the final move that he made. When Lando went to go alongside him, he then moved again. And that is what sent Lando off to the left-hand side and only just went off the circuit. Very, very dangerous from Yuki.
Yeah, it's that final move that people aren't picking up on. And I must admit, from the onboard shot, from the halo shot that is on Lando's, it actually doesn't do a very good job of picking up this move, this last move from Yuki. And in the TV coverage at the time, they switched camera angles at just too late of a moment. So it's just after Yuki's made that move. So you can't see it. But the defining one is when you see it from face on. And Absolutely. you see that Yuki, and this is where the stewards are clearly not happy about, is that he moves left. And look, I don't want to bring up old ground, but he did this exact move of moving too late under braking, in my opinion. I know we had a disagreement in chat about it with Ollie Behrman in Kota. And Yuki does have a habit of this. And of course, he was under team orders to not let Lando by, but that could have been a very big accident. And Lando did well to avoid it. And he's rightfully within his rights to keep his foot planted there on a straight, bearing in mind, on a straight where he has DRS open. I think people are forgetting that any significant movement with DRS open, you've got a significant decrease in downforce. And it could result in Lando going into a big spin and crash. So I think the stewards were 100% correct here.
And here's the thing. They had also dinged Lawson for erratic driving in front of Behrman, which I shared that in the chat. You can find it online if you go look. And it was a deserved penalty. But the points they made about this, I think, are one, it was about being forced off track. They came to the conclusion that Norris was forced off the track by the way Yuki was driving the car. And as a result, they also concluded that Norris had the speed and was alongside, and that the only way he could reasonably avoid contact, and this is the beautiful thing about it, was actually by moving off the track. And then they went on to say, as a result of that, we are not going to give Lando a penalty, because if Yuki hadn't moved, he would have passed him on the track. And frequently, I remember in the past, you would not see that. You would see a hard move to the edge of the track, and if the person had loads of overspeed and carried on, they get a penalty for taking advantage or passing off track. And I think it's much better for the sport and much safer that you get encouraged to avoid contact and to not force people off track, because you'll wind up with a penalty as a result.
Yeah, and for many saying that there wasn't a gap either. There was undoubtedly a gap, and you have to remember that Lando, as long as he has his wheels touching that white line, he can have what looks like all four wheels outside of the racing surface. Now, of course, he didn't have that in the end because he was deemed to have been forced off the circuit. But I want to remind people who are listening to this podcast and look back at Charles Leclerc's F2 move in his final race in Formula 2. He did something that was very similar to this. He was forced almost off the racing surface, and he made an unbelievable overtake that looked so dramatic because all the dust and dirt picked up behind his F2 car, and he made an overtake down the inside. And that's in effect what we've seen here, except it was, instead of that exact scenario, an overtake, Yuki made a more of an erratic move that obviously the stewards deemed to be unacceptable. And that's why Lando's overtake was allowed to stand.
Alex, you had your hand up, no? Oh, sorry.
I'll continue one more, though, as Spanners is shouting from the distance.
Sorry, I had a break and my son was doing the live switching and production, so I suddenly jumped in and went, what's going on?
But this right here, though, should not have even got to this point. Yuki should have held Lando up, down into the third sector beforehand. So this just shows that Yuki was just not using his racing brain. And, I mean, yeah, we have an example of Sergio Perez doing it perfectly. And Yuki even tried to, do you know what? I'll try and get the slipstream back down into turn 9. And Lando was like, no, I see you. And just held the inside and comfortably covered him off. And really, I suppose that would probably bring us on to the Red Bull situation of whether they could have done more.
Yeah.
That was really Max's only hope today of Lando finishing outside the top 4.
Yeah. So
our top 3, sorry.
Obviously, a lot of people online, loads of Verstappen fans are posting that screenshot of Norris off track and saying, how could that not be a penalty? And basically saying, oh, this has been manipulated. This is as bad as 2021. I'm seeing all of that. But I don't know if you guys covered the difference between a 5-second and a 10-second penalty. So normally that would be a 10-second.
Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't even clock that.
No. So normally,
has been recently,
recently. So leaving the track and gaining an advantage, if it was given, would be a 10-second penalty. So in that scenario, that puts him down to 4th place behind Leclerc, right? Because it was a 7-second gap. No,
except that he would never have pitted, and Leclerc did pit for the 2-stop. Leclerc would have had to make up 21 seconds. Also, however fast Norris could have gone on those tires, which would have been plenty fast enough. Trust me.
Good, because I'm trying to stamp on this. And also, had that happened, you could have had Piastri swap with Norris as well to then do something. But thank you to the person that pointed this out to me in the Discord. I've forgotten you, sorry. But last year at the Circuit of the Americas, Lando Norris got a penalty for overtaking and gaining an advantage. But it was 5 seconds and not 10 because the stewards deemed that he had been forced off by Max Verstappen. So even if they had given him a penalty, the precedent is there that he only went off because he was forced off. So then it would only be a 5-second penalty. Therefore, it makes no difference. The people doing that have no leg to stand on. And I'm not going to say cry more or the safety car's been deployed because of the moisture from your tears. But I think that argument is dead. Scott,
I would just say those scenarios are very different. That was in a corner.
That doesn't suit my narrative, Scott.
This was in a corner. This was down a straight. So it's very different. And corner you're under braking. You have you have control of whether you apply more brake pressure, release brake pressure, etc. Whereas down a straight with DRS open, you're thinking of one thing, and that's having your foot planted to the floor. So this is where we have asked for the drivers, stewards to have a bit more common sense in their rulings rather than being very black and white to these ridiculous driving guidelines. And as we touched upon at the start of this segment, I think that's from off the back of this meeting with the drivers in Qatar.
Good. Well, from the highs of a championship deciding title to the lows of it's the Ferrari segment again, but we've kind of done Leclerc, which was like the good bit of Ferrari. And actually, Hamilton had a decent race, overtook some people. But yeah, I'm going to go to Van Gien for this one. Like, we are the bravest F1 fans ever, aren't we, Alex?
We're so brave.
We're so brave.
We're so brave. We should be given medals of valor
we're like
for our bravery.
Hardcore Lewis Hamilton fans. And we embraced the Ferrari move. We embraced it.
We embraced the Ferrari move. We changed sides.
We did.
To support our guy.
We hid our egos. We bought caps. Like, it's...
And
we have had no reward.
I am so pleased this season is over because when he went out of qualifying again,
but he was P4 in Q1. He was P4 after the first runs, and then suddenly gone. And it's a combination of that car being arse, them not developing, changing their concept for some reason in the last season of a regulation set, and his own performance all mixed in together. And it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. I need to read the quote, Alex. Sorry, me and Alex are having this corner to ourselves here, but this is a Lewis Hamilton quote. I don't have the words to describe the feeling that I have inside. An unbearable amount of anger and rage. There's not really much I can say about it. Yeah, us too. It's just, and I've avoided talking about it all season, really. I've been like, oh, there's the Hamilton segment. I guess we have to talk about Hamilton. But like, I am distraught. For all of the Verstappen fans to be like, oh, cry more. Yeah, I have been. I hope you have.
I'm going to cry lots.
This has been awful.
And I'm going to continue to cry because not only has it been an awful season for Lewis, he's now gone his first ever season without getting a podium. But at least he kept hold of P6 in the championship, which he's never finished below P6 in the championship. So at least that's the one tiny morsel we can maybe keep
when
hold
you
of.
messaged me, at least he hangs on to P6, that made me more angry. It made me more angry. It's like, oh, if my day about Lewis can't be ruined anymore, Alex has ruined it with some weird optimism about P6.
So I'm going to talk about this now because I got told off in the last race review for putting it as my missed the apex as Lewis, because I got told off because I keep putting Lewis as my missed apex. So I'm going to talk about it here. Yes, the car's not been great. Yes, the communication has been terrible, but he has shown no ability to adapt to this difficult car. None. And Lewis is the guy that does adapt. And Lewis is the guy that does ring it out and figure it out and get it to work.
When he was 12, not when he's an old man. He's your age, Alex. He's your age.
He's a year younger than me. But yeah, it's been really difficult to watch. Lots of people saying, oh, it's damaging his legacy. If it continues next season, yes, he's allowed a blip year. To have 2 blip years in 15 years, he's allowed 2 blip years. If next year goes as badly as this, that's a problem.
Matt?
Well, you know me. I am always the voice of gloom and doom. But I do need to point out, he actually won a thing in China. Wasn't a race, it was a sprint, but he legitimately won it.
Matt. Oh my God, no.
But more to the point, I think a lot of people are mistaking shrinking margins for lack of improvement on Hamilton's part. If you go and look at his actual pace, and I'm going to say it now, like some cars are built for combat. Ferrari did not build a car for qualifying this time around. But in the race, his pace is very, very, very similar to Leclerc. And when you talk about missing out, I don't remember his margin, but for example, Behrman's margin into Q3, like 7 or 8 thousandths of a second. So he has actually been getting closer to Leclerc across this end of the season, but it hasn't mattered because the differences between the cars have shrunk so much. He hasn't gotten close enough to get over that wall. So it looks, to me at least, like there was some improvement on his end. It's not like he has failed to adapt. It's like he needed to adapt to 99.99%, and he's actually only about like 99.3%.
I think you're damning him with faint praise.
No, but the other thing I want to say before, I know Scott wants to say something, I will take rage and anger over despair and gloom. And if he's angry, I think that bodes well for him not having lost belief in his own ability to drive
I'd like to see an actual angry Lewis Hamilton. I haven't heard this interview, but I bet he delivered it in a very, very calm way. And do you know what? I almost need to... I want to see some headphones banging on the ground.
I've got you. You remember when Massa came at him? After their confrontation? That was an angry Hamilton. Massa came up
where he got smacked on the back, he went, "Don't touch me, man."
Exactly.
That still wasn't as angry as
that was 15 years ago. That was...
Well, I have how old I am.
I have a child that many years old ago. So Scott,
if anyone wants to know my thoughts on Ferrari, I would say copy and paste the Qatar section from the race review previously, which was only a week ago, because that was as bad as it can get for Ferrari. Yeah. But I don't want to repeat
Repeat it.
Do I want to repeat
it?
Look,
repeat it.
It's been a season for Ferrari to forget as general. Like, I think it stems from the top, 100%. Charles was always going to do better than Lewis. We approached into this season expecting Lewis to take time to get up to speed with him. Alex, I'm sorry, I'm a Lewis fan, but you are living in dreamland if you thought Lewis was going to get on top of Charles Leclerc this season.
I had a chat with...
Hang on, no, stop. In a regulation set that he has struggled to compete in, where he's been complaining about his back, that Oscar Piastri in the cool-down room even said, well, at least we don't have to drive these cars ever
Max
again.
hates them as well.
So
Max hates them too,
they've all come out slating these cars, and there was bound to be, with how long Lewis has been in the sport, there was bound to be eventually a regulation set that he was going to struggle with. And this has been it in the heaviest, longest, widest regulation of F1 car that we've ever had. However, I still see the positive side of things with Lewis, that whenever the car in this regulation set has been in the small window, the very, very small window that he feels comfortable in, he capitalizes on it and he's able to win races. But with Ferrari, they've arguably presented him and Charles a worse of a car than Mercedes ever did in this regulation set.
Sure.
Lewis was able to finish, what was it, third in the W13? The no side pod car? Like,
nearly second
against a dominant Red Bull.
We are clutching at straws here,
guys. We are. However, there's no excuses for Lewis's performance this year in a sense of being able to get on top of the car to an extent of...
He should have been closer to Charles.
He should have been closer to Charles, but I had no expectations of him beating Charles this year.
Okay.
In a regulation set he struggled with. 26 is completely different. But the race was positive.
It was.
Somewhat after being in FP3.
We need to accept that we are everything that people criticize Lewis Hamilton fans for. Like, we are being awful. We're being awful here. Me and Alex started off realistic, and then we just descended into we're terrible, terrible people.
I have been incredibly critical of Lewis this year. I have been so critical. I've avoided Twitter because I have been so critical of Lewis. Because, unfortunately, there is a band of the Lewis Hamilton fan base who will take absolutely 0 point of this as being his fault. And I take a rather large amount of this as being his fault. He should be able to adapt better. Okay, do you know, if he had been 2/10 off of Charles through every single session, that would have been absolutely fine. But he hasn't been. And we've seen so many more mistakes from Lewis than we ever have done.
I mean, just go back and look at Max's results for the first 14 races. No driver, you can talk about adapting all you want to. If you give a driver a car, Norris at the beginning of the season, that does not have the thing they need, does not have their superpower accessible, no amount of adaptation is going to happen to bring them up to that level. Fundamentally, Ferrari made a mistake because they decided to bet it all, not just on black, but like black 37. And there went their entire savings. They switched front suspension. they just, my guess, stayed with that same design. They'd be probably P2 and both of them would have won races and they would have been a lot more competitive. They built a car they didn't understand. It had a fatal flaw that we were never able to fix. And that's on Ferrari and whoever made that choice. And I'm not convinced that would be Vasseur in this case.
Go on then, Scott.
No, go on, Alex, because you're so adamant you want to go first. Go on.
It's basically whoever's drunker gets to come in.
Now I've got to try and remember what my point was now that we've been spent so much time arguing over who's going to speak next. But no, the other thing is think about the rules we hold people to when they move teams. We give them 6 months.
Yes, we do. 6 months.
And the other person we have to compare him to is Carlos Sainz.
Yes.
Carlos has been an absolute revelation.
100%. What a turnaround that was. Yes.
He has gone from a Ferrari engine to a Mercedes engine. He's gone from a massively high power, high money, well-developed team kind of in Ferrari to Williams and has shone. Yeah, Albon had the better of in the beginning part of the season, but the last part of the season, we know Sainz is probably a better driver than Alex Albon, and he shone through. Lewis hasn't shone at all this season, apart from one session in China.
Damn you. Damn you, Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz has wrecked our excuses. Scott, before I'll let you finish.
I'm now repeating my points from Qatar, but Lewis Hamilton has had a fundamental issue with qualifying in this regulation set. He has not, for some reason, been able to get on top of these tyres, which Matt will elaborate on in a second. However, I will also add on to this that Lewis has come into a new environment where I think he has gone, holy hell, what is happening at this team?
This has happened to me.
From top down, there is no way in hell there is. I tell you what, if Adami is his engineer at the start of 2026, I bless him. I'm sure he's a very nice individual, but he is not a good communicator. This is not something that is new to Lewis Hamilton on its own. Listen back to Carlos Sainz. There's a reason why Carlos Sainz got all sassy all of a sudden on the radio. Is because Adami was his race engineer.
Stop inventing.
Stop inventing, as is so famously now in the history books of F1
We've got to
driver
get
quotes.
We've got to get Matt in here.
So it is not just the fact of that he's in a lack of confidence with the car performance itself. It's everything surrounding him as well, which just exaggerates that feeling.
And the reason I got so excited when you started talking about qualifying is because on the post-race show, Juan Pablo Montoya, friend of the show, someone we've met a couple of times.
I've touched him. I've touched him.
I know. Did you see how
I stayed quiet in a chat room with him?
Excited Papa Norris was to get to meet him in the interviews afterwards. They had him on F1 TV. He's like, I can't believe I'm meeting you. He was so excited to meet. He said, you know what? He says, actually, this is what Lewis needs because his qualifying has been getting weaker and weaker, and it was happening before he came to Ferrari. And he said, you just look, you get old, things change. And what you used to do stops working. And something like this is what sends you back to figure out what you need to do to be competitive again. He says it's going to be good for Lewis because he's going to take a long, hard look at it. He's going to figure out what needs to happen, and he's going to come back stronger as a result of it. And, you could have me say that and be like, whatever, you're cheerleading. But no, this is someone who is an extremely good driver who has experienced this firsthand themselves. So I tend to give it a little bit more credence. It could go either way. But no, do you think Lewis is going to give up now?
Yeah.
No. He's going to come back twice as hard, 4 times as hard. And if it makes his qualifying better, then yes, I will take it. I will take the pain now for the gain later.
So someone in our chat, sorry I missed it, said that the qualifying pace is the first thing to go, but you keep the race pace. And we've got a great example here with Stuffey and Van Gien. So both incredibly good-looking, charismatic guys, but Alex is a bit older. And so Alex is now having to deal with the fact that he's still got the patter, he's still got the chat, but he doesn't have that kind of curbside appeal that he used to have when he was Scott's age. So Scott, you need to look at Alex as a cautionary tale where he doesn't realise that what used to be a welcome flirtation is now a creepy old man in the shopping mall. Sir, you need to move along.
There's a reason why I have a skincare routine before I go to bed. Alex is that inspiration. Look, I just want to touch upon I
need more wine. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
If Fernando Alonso can still do it at 44 and get that Aston Martin above where it belongs.
Yeah, define doing it.
Okay,
definitely.
But you know what I mean? Like he's
Stroll is the yardstick.
He's out, but he's putting that Aston Martin in a position where it probably doesn't really belong, right? More often than not. If he can do that, I have full faith that Lewis Hamilton can still do it because Alonso is a bit like Marmite. You either like him or you don't. Both. And obviously
both, please.
Exactly. Sometimes it's in the middle. You do. You don't mind him. But I have faith that Lewis Hamilton and overall, I still believe Lewis Hamilton is a better driver than Fernando Alonso, and I still think he is a better driver than Alonso. And if Alonso can do it at 44, Lewis can do it as well. But Lewis is more on a confidence side of a driver than Fernando Alonso is, I think.
The difference between Lewis and Alonso at the moment isn't the skill gap. It's the confidence and delusion gap, because Alonso is full of delusion because he is a million times better in his head than he actually is.
Like you in a bar.
Shut up. And Lewis is very much the opposite side of that. Lewis hasn't got there's almost like his ego's disappeared this season and his self-confidence has disappeared. Alonso, despite when things go wrong, still has the self-confidence that nothing's his fault. He is perfect and it's everything around him that fails, because that is delusion is in the same realms as Perez with the amount of delusion that he's had in that sort of thing. But also it's easy to have your confidence high in a car that's probably pretty good when Lance Stroll is your teammate.
I was just going to make the point. It's kind of interesting that anytime something that looks like a challenge of a teammate pops up, Alonso winds up moving to a new team.
That's
come
some
hate
Ocon.
on me.
That's some Ocon fan.
Come hate on me all you like. I'm not saying that's really the case, obviously, but Hamilton, he hasn't really had many teammates to challenge him properly, but he is racing against Stroll, and that is a good point. It's a very different benchmark. That said, I also can't argue with him having a really great weekend here when the Aston and Haas were fighting for P7 in the championship. He really did do everything. And interestingly, had Stroll not got that penalty at the end, I think they would have overtaken Racing Bulls for 6, because it was 8th and it was 4 points, and I think they're 3 behind.
Yeah, as I touched upon, it was a solid weekend for Fernando Alonso, and he's ended this year strong. And he arguably was the thorn in Max Verstappen's side here this weekend in not being able to maybe back up the rest of the field, because that gap started to widen so much. So, look, there is a very big possibility. I'm going to give you guys, you listeners, nightmares right now.
Go on.
There is a possibility into 2026 with the only team with a Honda engine and with Adrian Newey at the helm, that Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll could be in possession of a driver's world championship winning car.
If that happens, I will get a tattoo of Lance Stroll on Scott's back after I get him very drunk on tequila at a Missed Apex karting event. Yeah, well, you're the one who said it. You're the one who scared us with that. Oh, my goodness. Guys,
not for you.
It has been a long season. My goodness. 30 race starts. 30 times of the cars pulling away from the grid at the beginning of an F1 event. Lando Norris is champion. Missed Apex podcast will continue doing content into the winter, but I do appreciate that this is the last show that most of you will listen to. I'll say, please, over the last few winters, we have had no drop-offs in Patreon support, and Patreon support is what lets us do this. Patreon.com/Missed Apex. Even if you want to be a winter patron and just support us through the winter, Matt and I would definitely appreciate that. And we will do content. I don't know what days the Sundays are, but if it's Christmas Day is a Sunday, there will be an episode on that Sunday. And we now go on to our Abu Dhabi 2025 podium. This music is copyright free. Okay, so Max Verstappen actually won the race. He won the race. He did everything he could do. He did everything in his power, but that ultimately fell short in a championship. But I don't think we can dismiss the 104-point gap that he had to the championship leader at one point and ended up just 2 points short. Oscar Piastri also had his best form of his F1 career, had a great start to the season, delivered on everything that McLaren gave him in that car. But then I think ultimately part of his learning curve, the flaws that he has in his driving style, met up against tracks that lended themselves to punishing those things, and he fell away. And it's an epic fall away. I don't think there was sabotage, but I know that chat will continue all winter. And Lando Norris cemented his little dream, as he put it, in a 9-year journey with the team that he was doing. We had reserve driver roles with, had junior driver programs with. All those guys at McLaren have seen him from like a little tiny proto-human all the way up to an actual legitimate F1 world champion. We have seen something incredibly special in F1 today. And to mark that, we are going to sit here in judgment of the entire F1 grid. So we do like to do things negative first, so we can end on a positive. So first, we give out our Missed Apex Award.
Oh no, you missed the Apex.
Who missed the Apex for, I would say, not only, yeah, you've got to duck down I'll put you down here. Not only currently a very successful YouTuber, but what I think will be the biggest YouTuber in 2026. I'm calling it now. It's Scott Stuffey Tuffey. Scott, don't even make that face. You will be the biggest YouTuber in F1 YouTube over the next couple of years. You have 70,000 subscribers. Absolutely insane. 75,000 subscribers on Scott's YouTube channel. How many concurrent viewers or total views did you have for your live stream today?
77,000 peak viewership for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Yeah.
Over 70,000 people tuned in and said, no, I don't want the official commentary. I want to hear what Scott says. You should be very, very proud, young man. And that almost makes up for your decision to have a baby 14 months ago. So the link to Scott's YouTube will be in the show notes below. But I will ask you, Scott, who missed the Apex for you?
Firstly, thank you for those kind comments, Spanners.
Oh, you deserve
it. Thank you, everyone. You can follow me in the link will be in the show notes below. Missed the Apex for me is Zack Brown.
No.
Messages on the radio post-race.
What? No way. They were great.
They were cringe.
So good. What kind of dad?
Is this the champion hotline?
He was just a happy guy who's finally done the thing.
No, and he cut off Andrea Stella or his engineer on the radio when he was talking to Oscar Piastri, and that went down like a lead balloon.
Yeah,
like I don't know. Personally, for me, I was struggling maybe to find someone who missed the Apex. I could have given it to Red Bull, but I think that was an easy answer. Zack Brown, I don't know. It just didn't resonate with me. It may resonate with others, but for me, I found it super cringe, and especially from Oscar's side, like especially butting in. I can't remember if it was Stella or his engineer. He was trying to like give some positive words to Oscar, and Oscar was replying. And I'm not even sure if Oscar responded.
But how does your daughter talk much yet at 14 months?
Babbling.
Yeah, babbling. Yeah. When you get into full on like talking, like the dad joke era of your life will be the funnest era of your life. And then you'll go back and listen to Zack Brown there and you'll go, yeah, that was bang on. That was a great radio message. And Alex, do you agree? Alex? Yeah, Alex agrees.
I found it absolutely hilarious. And
I did. I did too.
I'm just like, that's just a happy dad. That's just a happy dad,
exactly,
proud of his kids for doing a good thing.
He's not a professional stand-up, Scott.
I don't mind Zack Brown. I really don't. I know he gets a lot of flack from a lot of people, but I don't know. Just in those moments, I just found it a bit. I don't know. It just found like he thought it was his moment rather than it was Norris's, and the commiserations to Oscar. I don't know.
Is partly his moment, to be fair.
Yeah.
He has dragged that team out of the doldrums. Zack Brown has a massive part to play in the success of McLaren.
You can do that afterwards.
That team had no sponsors.
Do that afterwards.
That team had no sponsors when Zack Brown came in.
But also,
Zero.
we all gave Zack a lot of rubbish when he first started. We thought he's not going to do very well here.
He's American.
He's not going to last very long.
For goodness'
he has
sake,
done Zack has done an amazing job, and he has every right to be getting absolutely smashed out of his mind right now on the absolute achievement that team has finally put together.
After the
remember,
race,
that team hasn't won Drivers' World Championship since 2008.
How is this the most passionate argument of the show?
No, I get it, but like after Lando's got out the car and Oscar's got out the car, don't do it over the radio. Just thought the radio messages just didn't quite hit the mark.
Boo! You're a joy sponge.
There we go.
That's what you are.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm gonna clip this. I'm gonna put it in a file marked open in 2040 and see how Scott feels about it then. Go and follow Scott on YouTube. I genuinely think he is the most talented F1 content creator on YouTube. Go and follow him. Matt's the second best presenter on Tech Time. And you need to follow him by going and following at MattPT55 everywhere. Matt is criminally underfollowed. Go and follow him. You will regret it, but do it anyway as a mark of respect. Matt, who missed the apex for you?
Well, it's interesting because I have a choice between bad and worse, and it's contextual. But I'm really going to have to say here, I think Racing Bulls, they should have been a part of this story. And they really, really weren't. And just from looking over the radio, they just didn't have it at all today, pace-wise. And it's a shame. It let us have other exciting midfield battles up at the front. But yeah, no, they were the ones, they got lucky. Lucky. Stroll got that penalty. So yeah, I guess you could give it to him too for getting a penalty. Because had he not got that penalty, they would have lost sixth place in the championship. And that's worth a lot of simoleons, as we like to used to say 500 years ago.
Alex Van Gien, this is the first time you've been on the show this year where you didn't have a YouTube video to plug.
There might be two coming up in the next couple of weeks, though.
However, go and follow Alex. Alex is you're the most positive person that I can bear to spend time with. You think
you give me so much rubbish for being positive.
Oh my god, it's like someone could hit someone with a pole in the street, and you'd be like, oh, I think they were just trying to get them out of the way of the traffic with the pole. Well, Alex is a bloody mess on the ground, and you'd be like, oh no. He probably had too much blood, and he was trying to help him. But anyway, you're a lovely guy, and that comes across in your YouTube videos, so we should all go and check out your YouTube videos after Stuffey's videos that are legit good content. But, Alex Van Gien.
And long live streams. Oh, let's watch those.
Who missed the apex for you?
The creepy attention sponge that is Mohammed Ben Sulayem. What on earth was that man doing after the race? It's nothing to do with you. Stay away from everybody. Don't ruffle for Lando's hair and just try and get involved in everything. Go away, you creepy old man.
As I said to you in the WhatsApp chat, I think that was fine. And I think you're over egging what went wrong there. And I think it's great. And he's pretty great.
Yeah, I have no chance in actually getting into the paddock. You do, and this is you sitting on the fence. Nope. So I don't care.
I'm going to say
I've said many a time on this podcast and on other platforms, but this is just a man who is an attention seeker. I'm sorry, he is no, do you know what? I'm going to stop myself from saying
that
the words
is Scott
I want to say.
Stuffey Tuffy, not Spanners.
Just stay out of the shots. Stay away. It's not your moment.
No one likes you.
Not your moment at any time ever. You're someone who's supposed to operate in the background and ensure the sport has a positive influence.
Is this the most rum and coke Stuffy we've ever had on this show, by the way?
No, this is just Stuffy venting at the end of a season where he's frustrated that there is no democracy in the FIA.
So, to comment on the whole post-race thing in general, there was a lot of like awkwardness. So I am going to give my Missed Apex award to the hugging. There was too much hugging. And it was and clearly some people did not want the hugging. Obviously, Lando's mum wanted the hugging. Lando's dad does not look like a hugger, which I absolutely respect because I'm not a hugger. And thank goodness for COVID that delivered us the fist bump where I no longer have to hug people. And Alex is the worst hugger. And the thing is, like, if I'm in a
you mean best hugger?
I mean, you are the best hugger objectively.
Of course.
But you're the worst for making me hug. So in social situations, like a party, like I was at last night, I will go into kind of professional mode where if someone wants a hug, I will give them a hug. But you, Alex, as my friend, should realise that I don't want the hug and you should back off. But no, in your head, because we're good friends, I get more hug than normal.
And I know it makes you awkward, which makes me laugh, and it's funny. It's taken me years to train Brad how to hug. It's now your turn.
But not everyone wants to hug. And clearly Lando's dad is like, no, it's not a hug. Son, we will discuss this over a cup of whiskey later. Well done on that championship.
I got mad at Lando's dad because he couldn't wear a McLaren t-shirt.
No, he had
to wear a pure t-shirt. I'm
always
like, you mug, wear one that's got your son's stuff on it.
Can we give him the Missed Apex award? I'm not sure if this is a fashion choice or not. Did anyone notice he had odd colour shoes on?
So, people do that. The people do that. I know, like tennis players, they do that. That's like a thing.
Fashion. He's an old man. He shouldn't be doing fashion.
But that's I know the missus actually pointed it out to me and went, why has he got odd colour shoes on? And I was like, oh yes, that's
I've seen people do
bizarre.
it. I've seen people do it as like a fashion choice, but always be advertising. Alex, you're a salesman. You should know that. So I'm a little disappointed in you. So we now get to go to the positive side of things. Oh, I didn't get to plug stuff. Follow me on TikTok at Missed Apex F1 and Instagram Spanners Ready.
Sorry, can we just one more
Missed Apex? Of course we can.
Lewis Hamilton's radio message or non-response to his radio message. So I'm going to read it out to you all. We've already spoken about Adami and the non-communication. This is Lewis's radio message at the end of the race. I'm grateful for all the hard work. I'll always fight for you guys. Always. That's it. Now, if you're a Lewis Hamilton, anyone who's followed Lewis Hamilton's career, you know that's come from the heart. Silence. No reply. Response from Lewis. You get that message? The one time you don't reply? Adami. Ha ha. We got it. Yeah, we were talking. Thank you very much. It was awesome working with you. And grazie mille.
Oh. He needs to have that headset strapped to his head.
I have a similar situation to that. In my first ever 24-hour race podium, I crossed the line. I was the one that took the flag, and we finished third and second. And I had a big outpouring over the radio and got no response because the race ended. They all cheered and turned the radios off. Oh, so I did a massive outpour to the whole team, and everyone had turned their radios off. So I know how Lewis feels.
Let's do the positive one. We're going to have to be quick because we have gone on. We really have gone on here. Okay. So, quick fire. Prepare your Thing of the Weekend award. I will say, Scott, who hits the apex for you?
Max Verstappen for ending this season with more race wins than both McLaren drivers.
Eight wins.
We haven't really touched him too much because, once again, he was faultless. The only argument we have is that maybe he could have played more shenanigans. But look, he needed to win this race today to have any opportunity of winning the title.
And he won it.
And he did that. Yeah. And that's what he's done all year is, pun intended, maximised that car whenever it has been in the window to win races. And that's why he ended up only 2 points behind Lando at the end of this season.
Verstappen claimed that had he been in that McLaren, the title would have been won long ago. And everyone agrees. 100%. Verstappen, in Norris's shoes, would have wrapped that title up by Interlagos. I'm nearly certain.
Just from his approach, his mentality, his ability, I don't think anyone kind of disagrees.
He's at his career. So Norris has improved like the second half of the season. Absolutely S tier. Is that what the kids say? Second half of the season. But like seasons are a whole season. You can't just be good in the second half. If you'd have applied second half Norris to first half Norris, then then he would have wrapped that title up. But onwards and upwards, and perhaps Lando Norris will be in that form going forward into 2026.
Lando was full of praise after, I don't know the exact quotes, but Lando was full of praise from the interviews that I saw afterwards of Max Verstappen, of just how big of a talent he is, that he'll probably win more world championships, and that he's actually proud to have won a championship in Max Verstappen's era. This is the thing, is that this could be the only opportunity that Lando or Piastri has to win a championship, with obviously these regs incoming. And Max, you do expect, with the level of driver that he is, even if 2026 is a poor year for him, he will probably be sought after and fight for a championship sooner rather than later. The
horrible thing about Verstappen is he's been around for so long, and I think he's probably just about peaking. And you go, oh no, that doesn't bode well for the future. Matt Trumpets, who hit the apex for you?
Well, and I'm not simply vamping for time here. The problem is it's a target-rich environment.
No, here we go.
Because I was going to go for really all three of the drivers, Verstappen, Norris, and Piastri. They all had a chance on the biggest stage under the most intense pressure to drop all kind of balls, and none of them did. But if I had to pick one, it's got to be the obvious one, because to my mind, it was, I know Norris was like, I did this for my team. But to me, without Norris, no one's pulling those things back out of the fire. He saved this team with his performance, and they did their best, unintentionally, I'm sure, to give it away. And the 2 points, that's Norris making it happen when it counted, which no one for the longest time ever thought he was capable of. So, chapeau. Nice job.
We can give the Hit the Apex award to the world champion, to Lando Norris, the world
that seems
champion.
Reasonable. Yeah. Shout out to Mom too. That was nice.
And also, Alex, I know you've been a Lando Norris fan. You've bigged him up, and you said coming through his junior career, this must be a very nice moment for you. So yes, we can say the world champion did quite well.
But he did great today as well. We talked about it earlier. His overtakes, he made the moves he needed. He could have very much sort of Fernando Alonso 2010'd this and got stuck when having to come back through the field.
Yeah,
but he didn't. He was decisive. Yeah. He was decisive. He made the right moves at the right time. So it's funny when you talk about things of the weekend. I was originally going to give it to Williams for cinching fifth in the championship.
Yeah.
But I realised they actually didn't score any points today, and they did that last weekend. But I'm made up for Williams as an old school F1 fan. Absolutely thrilled and made up for Williams. Yeah. But if I'm not going to give it to Lando, I'm giving it to Charles Leclerc, because the performance Charles Leclerc put on today in that tractor of a race car was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, good.
He was hanging around, as we talked about it, he was hanging around the heels of Lando Norris for a very long time, making it very uncomfortable. And he drove really, really well. And I think he dragged an incredible fourth place out of a car that probably shouldn't have been there.
And I'm going to give my Hit the Apex award to all the stewards and marshals who keep F1 safe and adjudicate over decisions.
Boring.
I was virtue signaling. Yay. Actually, I am going to give a little bit of a shout out to the media and the press who have kept us informed throughout the season. I maintain my right to disagree with experts, because otherwise it would be too boring. But obviously they've had a season as the team people, going around the world, interviewing people and being away from their families.
Cool, you're really pushing for that Paddock pass.
I really want Paddock passes for next season. It's going to be a big season for Spanners. And for anyone who doesn't like me, I think I am going to be around quite a bit more. I don't think I've talked about it on this pod yet, have I? Don't think I've talked about it.
Basically, tough luck. There's going to be more Spanners in 2026.
And there's going to be a lot more of Stuffey. Maybe, hopefully, the same amount of Van Gien is the best we can hope for. But we have enjoyed this season. We've done a lot of content this season. I've loved doing all the Saturday reactions. Matt has done one as well. But when I'm that involved in the community and talking online, after qualifying, I'm like, oh, I just need to vent my opinions. And our approach here at Missed Apex is you can always skip those ones. Like you can skip the patron pods, you can skip being part of our community, you can skip our qualifying reviews because they're non-canon. And we are still rotated around a weekly Sunday show, but we are trying to be more active across all of media as well. So thank you very much to our patrons, listeners, and to anyone who has gone out there and said to people, hey, Missed Apex is the podcast I listen to after the F1 race, and it's fine. And if you could tell them that we continue doing content over the winter, I'd really appreciate that too. So I know most of you are going to check out until the first race review in 2026, but I know some of you will hang around for our winter content, and we are going to have fun. We are not bound by the news, so we can just be creative, and we really enjoy those periods. So please join us for the winter as well. Until we see you next, work hard, be kind, and have fun. This was Missed Apex Podcast. We have a 2-part season review over the next couple of weeks. I think Mike is joining us, Antonia is joining us, Matt will be there, of course. Can I just say, Lando smashed it.